Hello, Shalom Aleichem. I hope things are okay. And now it's a time of teshuvah a little bit, and we have to do things in the right way. And anyway, we have here a learning from the Sefer Chasidim. Let's take a look at it right now. This is the Sefer Chasidim. And it's from Lemberg. From Jitamir. And anyway, this is by the great HaChasid, Rabbeinu Yehuda HaChasid, Zecher Tzadik Levracha. Let's take a look at something here. So let's see. This is the Shorsh, Hatfila, Simchas Leiv. The source of all tefillah is Simchas Leiv, that our hearts should be happy, Kadosh Baruch Hu, with HaShem, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shorsh Tefillah Simchas Leiv, Kadosh Baruch Hu. The source of all tefillah is that our hearts should be happy with HaShem. שנאמר, התהללו בשם קדשו. ישמח מבקשי HaShem. Hathalelu b'shem kdesho. We should praise His holy name. Yismach מבקשי HaShem. The heart should be gladdened, should be happy, that should have simcha. מבקשי HaShem, those that seek after HaShem. For the fikach, therefore, Hoya David Melech Yisrael Menagein Bekinar Al Kol Tfilosov Vizmirosov. So therefore, David, the king of Israel, David Melech Yisrael, Menagein Bekinar, he used to compose with his harp, Al Kol Tfilosov, on all of his different prayers that he composed, Vizmirosov, and his songs, Lamalaos, Levavo, Simcha, V'yahavaso Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to go and fill his heart with gladness, with simcha, with joy, in his love of HaShem. U'chesh Adam tzarich sheyechaven libo lefnei mi hu omeid. And when one davens to HaShem, he has to have kavanah, he has to have in mind the intention of his heart in front of the one that he is standing in front of. In other words, he has to understand that he's standing in front of HaShem. So when one is davening, he has to have the kavanah that one is davening before HaShem. When one says, particularly the Shemona Esrei, HaShem Ohei Devarim Me'akvim Es HaTefila. 5 things hold back the tefillah. It's like it's an encumbrance to the tefillah. Afal pi she'egia zmana, even though the time she'egia zmana, that the time for tefillah came, there are 3 things that hold back the tefillah. Elohein, these are teharas yadayim v'chisoy ha'erva, that one's hands should be clean. V'chisoy ha'erva, and also one has to be modest. One has to cover up the places that should not be uncovered. V'teharas mekom hatefila, also one has to purify the place where one is davening. In other words, one shouldn't daven in an unclean place. V'teharas, in other words, the cleanliness of the place where one is davening. V'devarim ha'chofzim oso, and also things that might chofzim, that might grab his attention. In other words, one doesn't want to look at things that are so in other words, one has to keep the place pure, tahor from in general, unclean things, and also other things that one shouldn't be looking at, gazing upon. Achovzim also. V'kavonas halev taharos v'kavonas halev. One also has to have the kavanah, the intention of the heart, that one is davening to HaShem. Taharos yadayim ketzad. How is it that one has to have his hands clean? Rochetz yadov b'mayim ad mekom perek. One should rochetz yadov b'mayim. One has to clean his hands with water ad mekom perek until I think it's the wrist. It's after the finger joints. I think it's the wrist. Ad perek hayad. Lizeroa. Oh, also hayad lizroa. It could be to the elbow. Zeroa means the elbow. But these are different places. One has to clean one's hand. Giontra belaz. It's another word for it in French is giontra. After that, one can, once one has, I think it's really the wrist. One has to clean one's hand to the wrist. In other words, pour water on it 3 different times. First one, the right hand, then the left, then the right, and then the left, then the right, then the left, 3 times until the wrist, if I'm not mistaken. It can be looked up and asked. You can ask a rabbi, if one was walking, if one was on the road, and then the time for davening came around, so one has to clean one's hands. So what should one do? And he did not have any water. What should one do? So one should walk until a place where one has mayim, until one has water. And then clean his hands. Then after that, one should daven. Let's say one has like to walk between him and the place of mayim and the place of water. It's more than dalid milin, 4 milin. That's a milin is a measure of a distance. It's possible it's a mile. Could it be a mile? Well, anyway, it's a 4 milin. So one can clean one's hands. B'tzror, or bi'afar is with dust. Or b'kora. Tzror might be ice. So that's a very good substitute. Or bi'afar with the dust. Or b'kora, or if one has, let's say, a wooden pole or something, a wooden pillar, so one can rub one's hands against the wooden pillar, and that can be a cleaning of the hand. Or mispalel, and one can start davening, can start praying. Kidyamrinan, like we said. When do we say this? Lefonov. That's when one has to walk 4 milin in front of him. But to tell him to walk in back, to tell him to walk behind him, in other words, one walked so long already, and then you have to walk back, you don't have to walk 4 milin. But to walk behind, in other words, to redo his walking and to walk back, Allah ad mil. One does not have to walk 4 milin, but 1 mil. Avalim over yoter mimil mikaneach yadav b'tzror o ba'afar o b'kora. But if one has to walk more than a mil, mikaneach yadav, one can clean his hands, bitzror, with ice, or snow, and everything it's ice probably. Bitzror, obi afar, or with dirt, earth, or bekora, or one can wipe one's hands, I think, against a pillar, like a wooden pillar. Kisoy erva. So now, how do we work kisoy? How do we define kisoy or erva, the covering of the erva, of places that have to be covered? Ketzad, how is it possible? How do we define this? Afal pi shekasa es ervaso kederech shemachasa lekriyashma. Even though one is covering up the place that has to be covered, kederech shemachasa lekriyashma, like it has to be covered for kriyashma, lo yispalel ad sheyachasa es libo. So one should not daven. When it says tefillah, it means davening the Shemona Esrei. Lo yispalel, one should not daven ad sheyachasa es libo, until one covers the heart. In other words, wearing a proper shirt. Ad sheyachasa, the chest has to be covered. Ad sheyachasa es libo. V'im lo chasa es libo, o shenenas ve'en lo b'ma sheyachasa. And if one did not cover one's heart, o shenenas, or by an accident, one is forced. In other words, let's say one does not have a shirt, let's say. Ve'en lo b'ma sheyachasa, one does not have what to cover one's the chest with. Howel v'chisa es ervaso o mispalel yatsa. Since he is covering the other places that have to be covered, and he's davening, and so mispalel, and he's davening the Shemona Esrei, yatsa. He's fulfilled the din of covering up. Aval lechatchila, but to start out that way, lo yasekein. It's not the best way to do it. Lechatchila means the best way. You can even start out doing it this way. But this is only like a measure. It's b'diavad. If things happen, it's like, okay, it's one can do it that way. So aval lechatchila, but to start out that way, one should make sure that one's heart is covered also. In other words, to be wearing a shirt. To start out that way, one shouldn't do it. Haras mekom tefillah. Ketzad, how is it that one should have a place? You should have the cleanliness in the place where one is davening. Mekom tefillah. Ketzad lo ya'amod b'mekom tanofes. One should not stand in a place of tanofes, where it's dirty, tanofes, or excrement. One should not stand in a place where there is that. The ispalel and davening, and daven the Shemona Esrei. V'lo b'merchatz, nor in the merchatz is like a mikveh, like a bathhouse. V'lo b'merchatz, nor in a bathhouse. V'lo b'beis hakisei, nor in a place where it's the beis hakisei, like a bathroom. V'lo b'ashpa, nor in a place where things are thrown away, where garbage is thrown away, refuse. V'lo b'makom she'ein lo chezkas tahora, nor in a place where it's not, the reputation for that place is not to be tahor, is not that it's not a clean place. Ad sheyivdakenu klalo, ad sheyivdakenu, until sheyibodek, it has to be searched out. Bedika, the bedika means to search out. Klalo shaldavar, the general rule of the matter is kol mokom she'ein koren bo kriyashma ein mispalelin bo. The klalo shaldavar, the general rule of the matter is kol mokom she'ein koren bo kriyashma, any place where one can't read the kriyashma in it, ein mispalelin bo, one cannot daven over there. Ukashem shemarchikin Mitzoa kach marchikin mimei reglayim. Just like one has to be away from things like spittle that comes out of the mouth. Kach marchikin mimei reglayim. One has to be away from urine. Mimei reglayim. Umei reach ra, from a bad smell. Umei raos erva, and from seeing erva. Erva is places of the body that should not be, that should be covered up. So one should be away from that also when one is davening to HaShem. One has to be prepared. One has to prepare oneself to daven to HaShem. Likros Kriyat Shema, to daven the Kriyat Shema, Kemo shemarchikin letfilin. To daven, so this is also when one is davening the Kriyat Shema, when one was saying Shema Yisrael, one also has to be away from these things also, in order to have a good place, a Torah place to daven to HaShem. Kemo shemarchikin letfilin, just like one has to be away from it when one is saying davening the tefillah, the Shemona Esrei before Hashem. Hamaspalel Amatzah Tzoa, one is davening, and he finds Tzoa, he finds spittle or something, or some kind of a things that are not good, that whatever, waste. Tzoa, he finds the B'mekomo, in the place that he's davening. Hoel v'chata shelo badak kodem shehispalel yachzor v'yispalel. So it says over here in the Sefer Chasidim, since one didn't do the right thing, v'chata shelo badak kodem shehispalel, one didn't check before one started davening, yachzor v'yispalel. So one should go and go again, and daven, return to the davening. So in other words, let's say he finds out in the middle of the Shemona Esrei that there is some spittle or some other kind of waste there, and one should not be davening in front of Hashem in a place like this. So since he didn't do the due diligence that he had to do, just to check it out in the right way, so he should go and return and start the Shemona Esrei again. V'yachzor v'yispalel, and should go and return and daven b'makom tahor, in a pure place. Haya omed b'tefillah. If he was davening, he was standing by the davening of the Shemona Esrei, Rod Shoah Kenegdo, and he finds, then all of a sudden he notices that there's some non-pure things in front of him. Im yachol lahaloch lefanav, if he's able to walk in front of it. Shiarchik arba amos leachorav, if im hu yachol lahaloch lefanav, if he's able to walk in front of it. Shiarchik arba amos leachorav, and that by walking in front of it, he will separate himself from that thing. Arba amos, 4 cubits, yelech, he should do so. V'im lav yisalkenu litzdadin, so then he should walk to the side. He should walk to the side to be away from this. V'im einu yachol, and yapsik, and if he's not able to do this, yapsik, he should posik, he should stop doing. He should stop the davening. He should stop his davening if he's not able to do this. So this is the Sefer Chasidim. This is what he says. Hadavarim chovzin oso ketzad hari hashoyu tzarich menakabov. Hadavarim o chovzim also, that are grabbing him, or that he has to pay attention. Ketzad. How is this possible? Hari hashoyu tzarich menakabov is palal tfilaso. In other words, if one started davening and he still had to make sure that he had to use, let's say he had to go to the bathroom, he didn't do that, and he started davening, So one shouldn't do that. One should try to make sure that one does all the things one has to do, and one does not have to be using the bathroom when one is davening. One has to be clear from those needs, if it's at all possible, if it's a possibility. He had to clear himself of these things, and he still had while he still had to clear himself, he started davening tefillah to'eva. The tefillah is like to'eva. It's like not the best. It's not the best. It's, in other words, one should try to be as clean as possible with HaShem's help. With HaShem's help. The choser mispalel. One has to go and daven again. After he did what he had to do, and in order to clear himself. Ad kedei mihalech parsa tefillah. But if he's to such an extent that he's able to walk, let's say a parsa, a certain amount of time without having to go to the bathroom, so then tefillah. So then it's a good tefillah. It's not like we say that it's a to'eva. Yafalpi kain la yispal ladshi avdiok yofe v'yoser v'neo again keo v'neo v'chol davar roko v'chol tzor. In other words, but still one should try to do the best one can to make sure one is 100% fit to daven, to be before HaShem, and not to stand in a place where there might be any uncleanliness. So in other words, one has to do the best one can to be clean for the tefillah, and to stand in front of HaShem, and to prepare oneself the best way one can, the best way he can. Here we can look at this. We can Yedras HaShem learn it further. Okay, Yeshikayach, and things should be good for the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, and for the hostages. HaShem should help the hostages to be returned, and there should be peace and shalom. Yeshikayach, thank you so much. Seid gesund, b'chol tov. This is the Sefer Chasidim, Tamar, from Yehuda, HaChasid, HaChasid,